All right, we'll be differentiating this function, and the good news is that we'll be able to practice the quotient rule and also the product rule together in this video. But don't worry, I will take care of you guys. We can do this one together. First of all, we see that this is a quotient, and we cannot split the fraction because we have two terms in the denominator. So I will show you guys with my memory device. So on the top, I will label this to be f. On the bottom, I will label that to be g. Well, yes, I know originally this was f of x already, but as I said, this is just my memory device. This way, I can organize my work nicely on the side for you guys. For the quotient rule, we write down g first. So let me put this down right here, which is x squared plus e to the x, and then f, which is the top function, is x squared times e to the x. So let me put down a dot to emphasize this is a product of two functions. Well, once we put this down, of course, we differentiate this individually. G prime, now, you see, this is two terms, right? Right here, I can just differentiate x squared, we get 2x by using the power rule. And then the derivative of e to the x, this is the nicest one. It's just e to the x. So you maintain that right here. However, if you look at f, like this f right here, this is x squared times e to the x. So this is the time that we have to use the product rule. I will show you, don't worry, f prime like this. And if you would like, you can label this to be little f again in blue and then little g in blue on the side. I will show you. For the product rule, we write down f first, which is x squared, and then we put down g in blue, which is e to the x. And then differentiate them individually. F prime, you just bring the power to the front, like that one over there. You get 2x to the first power, subtract 1 to the exponent. And the derivative of g is, e to the x. We still get e to the x for the derivative. Anyway, for the product rule right here, we go f times g prime is the first function times the derivative of the second function, right? F times g prime, which is x squared times e to the x. And then for the product rule, we are going to add the other direction, this times that. So I will put down 2 first. I'll put down this first, 2x, and then e to the x, like that. And you see, this part is the second function, and then you multiply this with the derivative of the first. Right? So that's the product rule part. This is the quotient rule part, and then we still have to do the original part. Anyway, here we go, f prime of x. Now, we are going to construct the quotient rule. Before we do anything, we should square the denominator. So don't forget about that. I will put this down in a parentheses and then square that. So x squared plus e to the x, and then square that. And then for the top, this is how we construct the quotient rule, right? You take this times that. So you take this, multiply by that, right? So we get x squared plus e to the x times this. And remember, whenever we have more than one term, be sure you put down parentheses, just like how I did it right here. And then we have this right here, just put it here. Namely, x squared times e to the x, and then plus 2x times e to the x. That was the first part. And for the quotient rule, we have to subtract this times that, right, the other direction. This is just a product of x squared and e to the x, just one term, times that. So you need a parentheses around here. And perhaps I'll put this one slightly toward the center so that it looks nicer. Parentheses, x squared plus e to the x, and then square. Anyway, we put this down, x squared e to the x times that, 2x plus e to the x, right? So this is how you construct the quotient rule for this question. And once again, we first square the denominator, and then we put down the bottom function times the derivative of the top. And derivative of the top, which is the derivative of x squared times e to the x, is x squared times e to the x, namely the first function, times the derivative of the second, and then plus the second function times the derivative of x squared, which is the first function. And then minus, right, for the quotient rule, you minus the top function, which is x squared times e to the x, and then times the derivative of the bottom. And the derivative of the bottom, derivative of x squared is 2x, derivative of e to the x is still e to the x, and then because there are two different terms, right? Two terms, you just add them up. So that's what we have. And then this is what we'll do next. We are just going to multiply all the things on the top and then try to see if there's anything we can combine. That's all, right? So let's see, I will do this times that, and let's keep track right here. X squared times that, we get x to the fourth power times e to the x. And then we do this times that, which is plus, I have a 2. This times that is x to the third power, 2 plus 1, right? You had the exponents. And then you still have the e to the x right here. And then you do this term times that term, the typical FOIL method. This times that, be careful, you add x squared. But e to the x times e to the x, you have to do e to the x plus x, which is e to the 2x. Be sure, when you multiply this, you add the exponents. X plus x, that's how we get the 2x. And then we do this times that, which is plus 2x, and then e to the x times that, which is once again e to the 2x, like that. And then we take this times that, so it's going to be a minus. We have 2x, so let me put down 2, and then this x times that, you add the exponents. That's x to the third power, and then you have e to the x. And then lastly, we have this times that, that's a minus. And this times that, let me put down the x squared first. And then e to the x times e to the x is what? E to the 2x. Like that. All over that. And if you guys think this is long, you should look at my Cal2 video for integrations, right? This is actually pretty straightforward. It's just kind of a lot of work, I know. Anyway, let's see, let's investigate. Are there anything on the top that we can, are there any terms that we can combine? Let's see. I think this is by itself. X to the fourth power times e to the x is by itself, right? Because I don't see any x to the fourth power. Let me put that down right here, and then e to the x. And then let's see, I have here is 2x to the third power e to the x, and this is also 2x to the third power e to the x. But this is positive, that's negative, so they cancel each other out nicely. And we also see that this is positive x squared e to the 2x, but this is the negative version of that. So I can cancel this out as well. And now we have that term left, so I'll just put this down, plus 2x e to the 2x. And then we're pretty much done. All over that. Parentheses, x squared plus e to the x, and then you square that. That's pretty much it. And for the people who really like to do factoring, on the top, we notice we can factor on x, and then maybe just e to the x, right? If you would like to factor. I know this is saying e to the 2, this is e to the 2x, but remember this is saying e to the x times e to the x. That's why I factor out e to the x, right? Anyway, here you have x to the third power left. This is out, and then you went down by 1 for the power. And then from here, this x is out, so you add 2, and then you have one more left, namely e to the x. And then this is all over that guy, parentheses x squared plus e to the x squared. And now, depending on which answer you prefer to have, I think I would like that one personally. But yeah, that's it. Done.